Is Pro V1 really the best premium golf ball on the market? Today, we're going to find out. So I'm going to put the Pro V1 up against what I would call the big four. So we have Titleist Pro V1, we have the TaylorMade TP5, the Callaway Chrome Soft, and the Srixon Z Star. And we want to find out overall which golf ball is delivering the most in all of the categories. And the categories are, firstly, price. We want to know which is giving you the most bang for your buck. Secondly, wedge spin. If it's a premium golf ball, you want to know that when you're hitting a wedge in, you're going to get some control with it. Thirdly, we're going to be looking at 7-iron spin rate. We want consistency there. We want to see a spin rate that is around 7,000 RPMs when using a premium golf ball. Then, probably the one that everyone likes the most is distance, and I'm talking carry distance with a driver. We'll be looking at ball speed in this category as well. So let's have a look at that first category, the price of each golf ball. So looking at the price category firstly, you'll be able to get them maybe at different prices if you do shop around, but I went on to one of my local retailers here in the UK, Clubhouse Golf, and had a look at the price of each dozen golf balls. And coming in at the highest price, probably to be expected, is the Pro V1 coming in at $44.99. So tied in second position is the TaylorMade TP5 and the Callaway Chrome Soft. They come in at $39.99. And the best bang for your buck, price-wise, is the Srixon Z Star coming in at $34.99. So that's £10 cheaper than the Pro V1. But is that going to stack up as we get into the other performance elements? Just to be noted as well, there are other balls available that are premium golf balls that do come in a little bit cheaper, and also some around those price points. We've got things like the Mizuno RB Tour X golf ball, we've got things like the Kirkland Signature golf ball, we've got balls from Vice, we've got things from Encore. There are loads of other balls around in the premium market, all at different varying price points, so maybe worth having a look at those as well. But back to the test. First things first, let's get some wedge data. So we've hit some wedges with all the balls now. Let's take a look individually at each one to see how they performed. First up was the Srixon Z Star. Now for me, I think this golf ball sometimes gets a little bit overlooked. We know it's the cheapest out of all the balls at the moment, but how's that stacked up to when we get into the wedge data? Well, for this one, it was spinning at 7,316 RPM. For me, a little bit on the low side. Dispersion was very good for it, and its carry distance was 130 yards. Felt good, and what I know from using this golf ball out on the golf course, generally when I'm seeing it, I don't see loads of ripping back when you hit it into the greens. It's not a ball where you think, oh my God, that's spinning loads. Or when you're chipping and pitching, you think, God, that really bit that one, which obviously aligns with what we see there in the numbers. So the next ball up is the Callaway Chrome Soft. Now, this isn't a ball that I've spent a lot of time with. I've used it now and again, but generally I've not really warmed towards Callaway golf balls, but actually after hitting this throughout this test, it is one that I have been surprisingly quite impressed by. When we look at the spin numbers for this one creeps up compared to the Srixon, but it actually only creeps up by 24 revs, so it's coming in at 7,340 with the identical carry number, pretty much the identical ball speed, and a very similar dispersion. Now, when hitting this again, it felt good. I think a takeaway I had from Callaway balls in the past, probably why I haven't used them as much, were they felt a little bit clicky and harsh. They didn't have that sort of rubbery urethane feel to them. They felt a little bit, like I say, harsh off the face, but definitely this Chrome Soft now, feeling that it is starting to get a little bit more spin there and felt a little bit more pleasant off the face, I would probably describe it as. So interesting to see that coming in just a little bit above that Srixon in terms of the spin number. Now we get to the so-called king of the premium golf ball market, the Titleist Pro V1. And in fashion as we've seen from the previous two golf balls, this has spun a little bit more. It spun 7,480 revs. It actually drops down in carry distance by 4 yards compared to the Callaway and the Strixon coming in at 126, and also the ball speed is down 96 miles an hour. But one of the things that Titleist do talk about is having that green side control. So we're seeing more spin, which it is delivering that. We're seeing a slightly lower ball speed, which when you are hitting wedges and pitches and chips, you don't want the ball coming fast off the face. You want to know it's coming off ever so slightly slower, so you do have that more control. The other thing that they talk about is more ball speed when you get up to the driver and less spin, so we'll have to wait to see how that one gets in there. But good to see that it's starting to creep up towards that 8,000 to 9,000 mark that I want to see for a wedge when I am hitting one of those. But pretty much what I expected it to be, one of the higher ones when we were hitting the wedges. So let's see how the TaylorMade performed. So the TaylorMade TP5. This one came in at 8,149 RPM, so the most backspin out of all the golf balls. The ball speed went up ever so slightly compared to the Titleist 99 miles per hour, and the carry distance was 127, so only a yard longer. But it has got that extra backspin there, and when I have used this golf ball out on course, definitely when I've chipped and I've pitched and I've hit sort of gap wedges, lob wedges, wedges into greens, I would definitely say that I notice it more. It definitely bites up a little bit quicker and tends to get that little bit more spin compared to the other models that we have here. So knowing all those spin numbers there, I would say that the TaylorMade has taken it. The Strixon is at the bottom of the pile in terms of the spin. But what I would say, it's good to know that, because if you are someone who has a lot of spin, who's really struggling with the wedges, you see that you're ballooning them all the time and you're getting too much spin, you probably want to look down this end of the market, the Strixon, the Callaway, as where if you want to generate more spin, the TaylorMade is probably the way you want to sit, as where the Titleist is sitting in the middle of those. Let's take a look at how they performed with a 7-iron. So, 7-iron performance, what am I looking for here? I want decent ball speed, I want good spin numbers, round about 6,000 RPM I would probably say with a 7-iron. And I want to see dispersion as well for me, because when you're hitting those irons in, when you're using a premium golf ball, it's all about the control, especially with these mid irons, hitting it close to flags, setting up birdie chances. And as we look across the board, it's the actual king of the premium golf market that comes in with the lowest carry number. That comes in at 169, and we see actually totally flipped on its head. The Strixon is coming in at 175. Now, again, when we look at spin numbers, we see the same pattern happen that we saw in the wedges. The Strixon being the lowest and the TaylorMade actually coming in with the highest spin. The TaylorMade as well, though, is also getting up near close to what we see in terms of distance with the Strixon. Now, it is interesting that the Strixon with the lowest spin actually had the tightest dispersion for me. And also the Callaway, again having one of the lowest spin numbers, also had the tighter dispersion. And I would say that hitting that Callaway, I was really surprised, wedges, irons, and even when we get onto the driver, how straight that golf ball was going. So interesting to see that we're seeing this pattern emerge now with the spin numbers going from Strixon up towards the TaylorMade. I would say at the moment, the TaylorMade is pipping the Titleist in terms of being the king of the premium ball market. But the driver, what's that got to say? Let's take a look. So the driver, probably the area where people will base a lot of the buying decisions on, because we want to see that fast ball speed and we want to see big carry numbers. And looking at ball speed, interesting here, it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy. The Callaway actually came in with the slowest ball speed at 157 miles per hour. It was then the Strixon, which was second slowest at 158. The Titleist came in at 160 miles an hour, with the TaylorMade just pipping it at 161 miles an hour. But when we get over to the carry distances, it changes a little bit. We now see that with the second slowest ball speed, the Z-Star, the Strixon, has come in as the shortest golf ball, 277 yards carry. Next up on carry, being the second shortest, is actually the Titleist Pro V1, and that had the second fastest ball speed. So coming in the next position, the second longest golf ball, is actually the Callaway Chrome Soft. Now that's interesting because it had the slowest ball speed, but it also had the highest spin rate, but also had the highest launch angle. So getting it up in the air with that slightly higher launch angle and just a tiny bit more spin just meant that it carried out there a little bit further, which I wasn't expecting to see that to be the second longest golf ball out of all of them, having followed the trend of the wedge and the iron. So that leaves the TaylorMade in spot number one. But answering the question, is Titleist still the number one premium golf ball? For me it seems no. TaylorMade TP5 tends to take the number one spot in all of the categories. An interesting little test for myself there, and I probably should explore maybe looking into playing that golf ball. Guys, leave your comments down below. What golf ball do you play if you're playing the premium one? And we'll see you very soon in another video.